Gary reviewing his staff of 13, the housekeeping department exceedingly responsive, never a problem, Mary Spees, Kamala Prasad, and Arjini Prasad always fulfilling responsibilities with an outstanding work ethic. The custodial crew responding applicable, not always the case in the laundry, discovering without a doubt, the laundry was by far the most demanding, and the worst assignment, not only in his departments, but in the facility. The starting wage paying the least, and the performance level very demanding with just 2 shifts, the first starting at 5 a.m., and ending at 1:30 p.m., the second beginning at 3:30, ending at midnight. A turnover of personnel was inevitable. The 2-hour pause between the 2 shifts causing an interruption with the necessary output flow and service. Gary remedying this by fulfilling the 2-hour laundry needs himself, sorting the barrels of residents' clothes, sheets, towel, and incontinent pads, keeping the washers and dryers fulfilling their purpose. On occasion members of the housekeeping staff would help during their break time, including Administrator Brad Kirkuda, stopping by to fold sheets, towels, and pads from the 4 dryers that continued their never-ending cycles. The only bright note in laundry services was Louise Bruns, able to gather unmarked residents' personal apparel, placing items on hangers and delivering them to the correct dresser drawer and closets in each room. Louise, a wondrous lady, the only person able to fulfill this position without difficulty. Her memory of the residents' personal clothing was beyond expectation. Gary having never experienced a utility cogeneration system. Mounted in a covered mechanical systems area at the rear of the facility was a Chevrolet natural gas-powered 350 cubic inch V8 engine, which operated 24 hours a day. Coupled to a generator providing 110-volt AC to the building grid, and supplied heated water to the fan coil units that heated the facility rooms, and in the summer, supplied the heated water to 4 heat absorption air conditioning units with their 16-foot high motor cooling towers. Completing the physical plant equipment was a 50 kW Onan diesel standby generator supplying electricity for selective circuits during a power failure. Gary discovering the fire alarm, smoke detectors and sprinkler system a mirror of his past experience. Nick Barton, the corporation's computer consultant, approached Gary about dietary supervisors, Sashi Singh's kitchen office standalone computer being in need of a cabled online presence with the main server in the conference room. Gary, after surveying the situation, realizing the difficulty, the crawl space traversing above the kitchen, break room, business office, plus having to drill through 2 firewalls before entering the conference room crawl space. After some thought, Gary remembering a similar circumstance when installing Kiowa Hospital's ER ambulance and front door entrance cameras, having run the ER cable down the side of the building, entering above the lobby and into the nurse's station. This situation was no different. Run the cable out of the kitchen down the building and back into the conference room. Gary realizing it was somewhat unorthodox, but the finished results worked. Healthcare Management and Colony Park's goal was now focused on receiving a Joint Commission accreditation, JCO certification. Gary being introduced to Susan, a consultant hired by Healthcare Management, a previous employee of the Joint Commission. The consultant seating Gary a thick binder containing the JCO 7 directories for safety management. Safety, medical equipment, emergency preparedness, utilities, security, fire safety, and hazardous material. Gary's responsibility being to address each individual program with written management policies and procedures appreciable to Colony Park. The bulk of the JCO 4-inch tabbed binder alone made for apprehension. One could foresee it unmanageable with the addition of the Colony Park policy and procedural documentation. Gary having a simple but innovating remedy, separating the directories into 7 individual smaller binders, addressing each management plan separately, spending hours on the computer and many evening hours at home addressing JCO requirements. The time of reckoning finally arriving, the department supervisors introduced to an elderly JCO surveyor at a special morning department head meeting, giving notice that if all went well he should conclude his survey in 3 days. Environmental Services was last to meet with the representative, Gary entering the conference room discovering Brad was in attendance. Gary no longer having a single enlarged binder of the JCO management plans, spreading 7 labeled individual binders on the table, each binder addressing a management plans. The representative taken aback, asking for an explanation, Gary explaining the 7 plans would be better addressed individually than as group, it would provide a more focused complacent presentation. The JCO representative seemed impressed, giving Gary an assurance, he had done well. The final meeting, the JCO representative announcing to the department supervisors, Colony Park had qualified for certification. Then something unexpected, the surveyor giving a special recognition to Gary, asking the department supervisors to applaud him. That in his 20 years of certifying facilities, Gary was the first to pass the 7 safety management plans without a deficiency. Gary acknowledging his recognition from his professional co-workers, and inwardly, the cultural diversity of its makeup, an existence, and relationship he had never experienced before.